Have a nice,
Thank you.
it's a beautiful look to it.
Crowd out here.
Okay, welcome everyone to the Planning Commission meeting of December 11th, 2019. I'll call this meeting to order. Can we have roll call, please?
Chair Kurth,
Here.
Vice Chair Marsh,
Here.
Commissioner Wells,
Present.
Commissioner Huber, Commissioner Harriman,
Here.
Commissioner Huber's marked absent.
Thank you. You'll all please rise for the invocation and then the pledge led to us by Commissioner Harriman. Lord, we come before you in thanksgiving for the opportunities that this city and community have been given over the past year. As we enjoy this holiday season and prepare for a new year, we ask that everyone here tonight, along with our families, are given the greatest gift of health, happiness, and prosperity. Please bless tonight's meeting and give us guidance to make decisions that are in the best interest of our entire community. This we pray in your name. Amen. We have a set of minutes to deal with from the November 13th, 2019 meeting. I'll go ahead and move to approve the minutes from that meeting.
A second.
We have a motion by Chair Kurth with a second by Commissioner Wells to approve the minutes of the November 13, 2019 regular meeting. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries with Commissioner Huber absent.
Okay, starting out with agenda item number 1. Can we have the staff report, please?
Thank you, Mr. Chair, members of the Commission. Agenda item number 1 is planning case number PLAN 19-00020. It's a vesting tentative track map with a mitigated negative declaration to allow for a 168-lot single-family residential subdivision known as Tentative Tract Map Number 20274. This project is located east of abutting Amethyst Road and just north of Eucalyptus Street. It's also south of and abutting the Oro Grande Wash and would be just southwest of the Walmart development. This project was previously approved for 179 lots. However, that approval previously expired, and the revised map includes designs that currently meet the design guidelines, which resulted in loss of some lots, but it includes cul-de-sacs and pie-shaped lots, curvilinear streets that reduce through streets, and a dual-use drainage basin park bordered by 3 streets that will improve visibility to the recreational area in the future. As a result of the mitigated negative declaration being routed through the state clearinghouse, along with the initial study, staff received comments from the Mojave Desert Air Quality Management District as well as the California Department of Fish and Wildlife. Both of those comments have been updated, with the AQMD comments being included in the staff report and the CDFW comments, or California Department of Fish and Wildlife, being updated in a late edition memo that includes all the updated conditions as recommended by the California Department of Fish and Wildlife. The applicant is in the audience today, and I believe they are in support of all the conditions as proposed. With that, staff recommends approval of the item as conditioned with the updated conditions as noted in the late edition memo.
Thank you. Are there any questions from the commission for staff at this point? Seeing none, thank you. And I'll go ahead and open up the public hearing if there's anyone here that has any questions or comments for the commission. Okay, seeing no one, I will close the public hearing on agenda item number 1 and bring it back to the commission for a determination.
I'll recommend that the motion to adopt the attached and updated mitigated negative declaration with an updated mitigation monitoring and reporting program for the project, and adopt resolution number P-19-058 approving tentative track map case number plan 19-00020, subject to the attached updated conditions of approval.
Second.
I'll second that.
We have a motion by Commissioner Wells with a second by Vice Chair Marsh to approve case PLAN 19-00020 with the updated presented conditions. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries with Commissioner Huber absent.
Thank you. That one has been approved. Good luck with that project. Moving on to agenda item number 2.
Yes, Chairman, Commissioners, agenda item number 2 is Planning 1929. It's a site plan with a mitigated negative declaration. That's to allow for a concrete panel casting facility to include the installation of a prefabricated office, off-street parking, and concrete casting beds on approximately 32 acres of vacant but disturbed land. The site plan also includes the southern roughly 11 acres for temporary concrete panel casting, known as Phase 1. The project is located at 17248 D Street, and that is just south of Air Expressway, and it's west of D Street. The use as described doesn't appear very desirable, but if you view the finished product, and hopefully we'll get some of those pictures, you'll see it as a quality operation. The use is a good fit at the location, and staff recommends approval, including the suspensions, the deviation, and the Phase 1 use. Staff also wants to note that the concrete dust on the property is not from the Cemex plant next door, but it was from some decades-old lime bags that exist on the property. Staff is available for any questions.
Thank you. Any questions of staff?
Is it my understanding that those bags will be removed during this construction?
Yes, they will.
Okay, I'll Go ahead and open up the public hearing on agenda item number 2. Is there anyone here that would like to speak to us? Hello.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman, members of the commission. My name is Robert Martinez, architect. I am the project architect for the Reinforced Earth Company. The company's representative is here in case you have any questions, and so is our biological engineer, who I'm sure all of you know. We're very happy to be at this point and would like to thank staff for all their support and help. The CEQA process was pretty intensive, and they were a great help through the whole process. I'm here to answer any questions. Do you have any?
Any questions for the representative? I just was just curious. This is not a technical question, just curiosity. It looks like the panels that they make are for the bridge overpasses and
Right.
abutments and retaining walls, things like that. Do you know if they're setting up here in the high desert for some of our pending high desert projects, or is this just regional?
I'm going to have to let him answer that question. You want to address that, Tom? Sure. I thought you were going to ask me why I turned so gray over the last few years.
I was going to ask you that afterwards. You don't have to give away any trade secrets or anything like that. I was just curious,
That's fine.
seeing this interesting new
Sure.
business in our area here.
I'm Tom Mikulik with the Reinforced Earth Company, and we're setting this up in general for the whole southwest area. There may be pending work coming up that we will also do along the area, but it's in general,
Glad to see that we've seen another few firms in the high desert that are actually servicing the entire West Coast region. That's good news. Thank you. Oh,
I have a question.
one more
sir.
question from Commissioner Herman.
Are you guys batching the concrete on site, or is it
No.
getting delivered
being delivered, probably from Robertson's Ready Mixer.
right there down
Yeah.
the street?
Correct. Yes.
Wow, well, that's convenient, isn't it?
Yes, and that was part of the decision making.
Okay, one last remark. As Chairman said, when they build bridges up here, they're very generic, and I always wondered, why do they always get the nice ones down there? So hopefully we will get some good ones up here.
Sure. No. Hope to do them. Thank you.
Is there anyone else here to speak to us on agenda item number 2? Seeing no one, I'll close the public hearing and bring it back to the commission for a determination.
Chair, make a motion to adopt the attached mitigated negative declaration with a mitigation and monitoring and reporting program, and adopt resolution number P-19-057, approving site plan, case number plan 19-00029, subject to the attached conditions of approval.
I'll second that.
We have a motion by Vice Chair Marsh with a second by Commissioner Harriman to approve case PLAN 19-00029 as conditioned. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries with Commissioner Huber absent.
Thank you. That has been approved. Good luck and welcome to Victorville. Agenda item number 3, please.
Thank you, Chairman Kurth, members of the commission. Item number 3 is case PLAN 19-00030. It is a site plan and conditional use permit with a negative declaration to allow for the construction of a new approximately 38,000 square foot charter school for students grades 6th through 8th. This is located north of Forest Park Lane, south of Luna Road, and east of and abutting Mesa View Drive. Desert Trails Preparatory Academy is the applicant. They operate a public charter school within the city of Adelanto. This would break off their K through 8th operation and locate this separate middle school at the subject site that you see here, which is located on vacant R1 single-family residential property. The site, once built, will have a capacity of up to 550 students. The proposal provides the required off-street parking. It also provides an ample pickup and drop-off lane to keep traffic off of Mesa View Drive. It's also well-designed, meets our commercial design guideline standards. I would like to note that since it would abut existing residents to the south and future residents to the north, the applicant is complying with our standards by including a solid block wall, 15 feet of landscaping with trees along those buffer points. With that, staff's available if you have any questions, and we recommend approval as conditioned.
Okay, thanks. Any questions of staff?
So this, my understanding is there's ample area for the cars to come in and out and drop off students. It seems like we have a problem with that here in Victorville with too many people blocking the road.
Yes, it has been a concern in recent years due to the different ways people are transporting their kids to school. But the full length of the site is essentially a stacking lane that loops back around. And it also has additional parallel parking along that stacking lane to accommodate additional pickups.
Then I'll go ahead and open up the public hearing for agenda number 3. Is there anyone here to speak to us on number 3? Okay. Seeing no one, I will close the public hearing on agenda number 3 and bring it back to the commission.
I'll recommend by motion that we adopt the attached mitigated negative declaration with a mitigation monitoring and reporting program for the subject site plan and conditional use permit. Adopt resolution number P-19-059, approving the site plan portion of case number plan 19-00030, subject to the attached conditions of approval, and adopt resolution number P-19-060, approving the conditional use permit portion of case number plan 19-00030, subject to the attached conditions of approval.
I'll second.
We have a motion by Commissioner Wells with a second by Vice Chair Marsh to approve PLAN 19-00030 as conditioned. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries with Commissioner Huber absent.
Thank you. That project's been approved. Moving on to agenda item number 4. Staff report, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Agenda item number 4 is a two-part agenda item comprised of 2 cases. The first case is case number PLAN 19-00039. This project is to allow for the continued use of temporary vehicle storage and processing at Southern California Logistics Airport through January 1st, 2020. These are the cars that were stored as a result of Volkswagen's emissions issue they had in the past. The second part of this case, Plan 19-00047, is an associated case, although it has different applicants. The reason staff put these 2 cases together is because 47 is essentially going to, or was planning to utilize a space that was vacated by the VW operations. As the VW operations ramped down, over half of the site that they were currently using was then seen as a potential area to store semi-tractor trailers filled with tires from a local manufacturer. And essentially they'd be new stock tires that when they didn't have warehouse space, they would be stored there. Tires pose a specific fire concern. As such, they require a specific safety plan that notes distance around the trailers, requirements for firefighting, water availability, and so on and so forth. And as of today, staff has not received any updates from the applicant on that project to proceed forward. It is assumed that they are going to withdraw that application regarding plan case 19-047. given the fact that there are not water lines in the vicinity. But as of this writing, because we have not received that formal withdrawal, we would request a continuance of that portion of the case to the January 8th, 2020 meeting, with the hopes that the applicant submits the necessary documents to formally withdraw that application. The primary case being brought forward today, Plan 190039 for the continued use of the VW operations. This location was originally approved in March of 2017 and will expire on January 1st, 2020 without further approval as requested today. They are proposing the extension of their allowances on site to operate through January 1st, 2022, at which point they should be completed with removing the cars from the site. The winding down of operations is evidenced by the fact that what was once an over 100 acres of area is now down to 40-acre operating area with the lease agreement they currently have proposed, the lease agreement they have proposed and the use permit they have proposed ahead of us. No permanent improvements are being proposed at this time as a carryover from the previous proposal, due to the fact that by the time they would be called potentially to be improved, the site would likely be ceased of operations. That being said, staff supports the extension of the request, given the fact that the vehicles remain on site through the 2022 request date as conditioned, as well as with the additional conditions from engineering which were inadvertently omitted. Those conditions deal with protection of sewer lines to ensure there's cleanouts available as needed. And secondly, for case number PLAN 190047, staff recommends a continuance of the item as noted.
Thank you. Any questions?
Is on the site number 2, are they balking at the cost to supply the water? Are they throwing that around to see if they want to go through all that?
I believe from what they had expressed to me that was part of their lease negotiations, and bringing water to that site was going to be cost prohibitive. Also, because I think it was something like a million tires potentially that would have been stored there in the semi-trailers, so they wouldn't have been visible. And while the semi-trailers themselves have some level of fire protection in that they're made of metal versus a flammable material, fire department standards and California fire regulations still require a 30-foot clear space around each what they call a tire pile. A tire pile is comprised of 5,000 tires by California Fire Code. So there was a lot of moving parts that they didn't anticipate that they would have to comply with. Nonetheless, their California Fire Code requirements that because of the material stored in those semi-trailers was causing an issue to them.
So they haven't washed their hands yet. They're still throwing it around.
Yeah, they're what they had expressed to me is that they would likely be withdrawing because of it being cost prohibitive and the leaseor not being willing to. It sounded like to install at their cost completely the required water, but they weren't able to put that in writing at the time. Our last communication was about a week and a half ago, and staff has since been unable to, or has not heard any response back from a multiple requests for comment. So it is still alive. There may be light at the end of the tunnel, and we want to leave that option open for them.
Thank you.
I have one more question.
Yeah, go ahead.
Who would they be leasing that from, actually? The city or Sterling?
I believe it's through Sterling that they are working with for the lease of that property.
Okay, and there's nothing kicks back to the city?
I'm not aware of the
Okay.
of the agreements in
Okay.
that process.
Not on that property. That is owned by them.
Cars too, right? Car area
Correct.
also? Okay.
Thank you. I'll open up the public hearing on item number 4. If there's anyone here to speak to us on agenda item number 4. Seeing no one, I will close the public hearing on 4 and bring it back to the commission.
I move to approve item number 1 as written by staff.
Along with the added conditions from the memo.
With the added conditions.
Thank you. Is there a second?
A second.
Do you mean for Plan 1939 only?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. We have a motion by Commissioner Harriman with a second by Commissioner Wells to approve case PLAN 19-00039 with the added engineering conditions. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries with Commissioner Huber absent.
And just to clarify, we will need another motion regarding the continuance.
I'll go ahead and make that to continue PLAN 19-00047 to the January 8th, 2020 meeting.
We have a motion by Chair Kurth with a second by Vice Chair Marsh to continue case PLAN 19-00047 to the January 8, 2020 regular Planning Commission meeting. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries with Commissioner Huber absent.
Thank you. That project has been approved. So we're looking at agenda item number 5 right now, and I understand there might be a ex parte disclosure.
Yes, I spoke to the owner of the beer tavern, the bar on 7th Street.
Staff report, please.
Okay, so just to elaborate a little bit, I was down there, and there was a fence getting built next door to the bar, and the owner pulled up, and I just spoke to him briefly on if they'd had any change alley since the warming shelter got open. Yeah, he did.
I don't know. Is that sufficient?
Sorry, I didn't have my mic. I think you generally need to disclose the content of what the gentleman you spoke with had to say.
Okay, so after speaking with the owner of the tavern, he did express having a larger amount of people in his alley and just more traffic in the back. That's pretty much what he said.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
And once again, for the public, we do that just so that it's an open hearing, so everyone knows what this commission has seen through the staff reports, and also if anyone had any kind of discussions outside of this room, that was a good disclosure. So now we're all on the same page there.
Yeah.
Thank you. So we are looking for a staff report on item number 5, please.
Thank you, Chairman Kurth. Our new business item number 5 is regarding the security plan requirements for case PLAN 19-00045. This was a conditional use permit with an environmental exemption to allow for a temporary warming shelter with a maximum of 80 beds from November 2019 to March 2020 within the existing building in the Old Town Specific Plan area located at 16838 D Street, also known as the Victor Valley Transportation Center. This conditional use permit was originally approved by the Planning Commission at their special meeting on October 30th. Since then, the warming shelter began operations on the 20th of November. They are currently operating at capacity, and they brought forward some concerns regarding the condition that required 2 security guards. They're noting the cost as the main factor that could cause the facility to close prematurely this season. Specifically, the condition in question states, in lieu of a detailed security plan, 2 licensed security guards shall be provided on site during all operating hours at the warming shelter, as well as 1 hour prior and 1 hour after normal operating hours, or 5 p.m. to 8 a.m. The zoning administrator shall reserve the right to require additional security measures and/or a detailed security plan in the future should reports of security concerns be received. The way the conditions worded, it does leave that security plan requirement to staff to finalize, but since the Planning Commission was very clear that they wanted 2 security guards, we wanted to bring this matter back before you to get further direction before staff takes any action on a security plan. What was presented today was some add-on material. There was 2 main components of that add-on material. The applicant has submitted a letter and also the detailed security plan. Within the detailed security plan, they note that they will, this is in lieu of having 2 security guards on site, they will have on-call security consultant, which is the True Liberty Protection Services. In addition, they will have 1 certified volunteer security personnel on site. This would be from the noted 5 p.m. to 8 a.m. window of operation, and no less than 4 volunteered staff during the operating hours. Additionally, they note that on site, even though it's not part of this operation, the Victor Valley Transportation Authority does have security on site that does range up, that does overlap some of their operation in the evening hours and also at some of the morning hours. Also attached is a summary of the calls for service. The Sheriff's Department provided calls for service from the 20-day window that they've currently been open. As noted in the memo, there's been 34 calls for service. Of those 34 calls, the Sheriff's Department has identified 12 of those to come from the warming shelter itself, with the remaining 22 calls being varied between medical and law enforcement calls. I would like to note that security personnel and also properly trained volunteers, their main purpose is to observe and report. So this may be the reason why we have the number of calls for service. The security personnel doesn't replace a licensed law enforcement deputy or a police officer. So they are, even though, as noted in the memo, that in the prior 2 20-day periods before the facility opened, there was less calls for service. There was 10 calls for service and then 14 calls for service in the 2 preceding 20-day periods. But again, security, their main purpose is to observe and report. So I do believe that's a contributing factor in why we're getting more calls for service, but it is what properly trained personnel should be doing. So with that, staff's available if you have any questions. We also have the applicant here to provide more detail if the Planning Commission has any further questions.
Okay, thanks. Let's start with any questions that the Commission may have based on staff's recent information.
I want to know these 34 total calls, 22 of them possibly being medical and law enforcement calls that were between November 20th and December 10th. Is there a way for us to find out if there was any violence there or some brief description of what these calls were about?
Yes, in the attachment, there is a call log that provides the type of offense, and written there's some of the calls. Some of them were from drunken public, trespassing, petty theft, battery, psychological evaluation, but that list you'd have to cross-reference it with the hours that it was called in at, because some of them don't correspond with when the warming shelter's in operation. Some of those occurred during the day.
And if we could find also if the security that was in place at the time of the calls, if they were within the warming center's hours, if the security guards, if they had to take any time to circumvent any problems escalating, it just stopped it, or law enforcement got there, or anything like that. Because, our concern back in October was the security of the warming center, having security.
And the applicant could probably explain more of other situations that were de-escalated because of the on-site security. But what I can tell you is what the law enforcement has told. Of the 34 calls, only 12 of them were directly traced back to the warming shelter operations. The other 22 were varied between the medical and law enforcement calls. Yes, medical and law enforcement related issues. About one third of the overall calls, the sheriff's department could attribute them coming from the warming shelter.
November 20th to December 10th is just 20 days.
Yes.
12 calls in 20 days.
Yeah, that's...
Hear what transpired, so we can make some decisions on what they're asking.
And I believe the applicant could elaborate further.
Yeah, I'll wait, sure, yes.
Okay. I'll open up the public hearing, and you can come on up. Finally, your turn.
Good evening, Jimmy Waldron. So to address the question, some of the calls in service. So there was a call for service because a gentleman was suicidal and tried to actually throw himself in front of the train. And our guests who were staying at the shelter actually saved him, where the security guards were unable to touch or leave their post. So the security guards were actually not effective in that matter, and our guests actually saved the gentleman's life, and they had to call the police to take him to get evaluation for mental evaluation to take him to the crisis center. And then we had a guest who called because they said they had their wallet stolen, so they had to call the police. And then we had a guest who lost a phone, so they said somebody stole their phone, so they called the police for that. And then we actually had a lady who came who was not all there, who tried to receive services that was not allowed to come in. And the security guards asked her to leave, so we ended up having to call police for that. And then we had, I believe, 3 or 4 medical emergencies. We had a gentleman who's had his feet amputated last year because he had frostbite, and he had an infection in his feet, so we had to call a service for paramedics for that. And then the only altercation that we have had at our facility inside with our guests, we had two women who were fighting over a gentleman who they were both with or whatever, but all three have been removed from our shelter and are no longer to receive shelter services this year. And we've had an incident with the gentleman who was with the city council member 2 years ago that came to the warming shelter that caused problems, who doesn't stay there, who always comes because he takes the bus there, who comes and causes problems with the security guards because he has a problem with our security. So there was two calls for the same gentleman who doesn't even stay there.
What is he? He comes to the city council meetings?
No. He came with one of the city council members to our warming shelter 2 years ago, and they videotaped and they and they were cussing and at our volunteers and stuff. He has mental issues. He doesn't stay there. He has his own housing in Hesperia, but he rides the bus, so he comes, and even though he doesn't stay there, he tries to come over and cause drama. So our security told him that he couldn't be there, and then he caused the scene and cussing and saying it was racial and stuff like that. Okay. But he has mental health issues, but he's the one that actually called for service twice because he came over causing drama.
And can you identify him? You say, so the council member was Mrs. Councilwoman Gomez? And
I'm not insinuating, I'm not trying to put nobody under any buses, but it was 2 years ago.
I think I know who the gentleman is. And if it is him, I'm not real happy about that. Anyways, you're not willing to identify him?
Well, I
know him by name?
I do know his name. Well, actually, he goes by several names, but his name is Carl.
Okay.
But he goes by Randy.
Then it's not who I thought, so that's good.
Oh, well, that's great.
Okay.
But if he continues to come over, we'll be probably forced to get a restraining order on him because he just comes over just to cause trouble. And he doesn't even stay there. He's got his own housing.
In the past, in the shelter situations in the past, has it been a paid security service that you've or has it always been a volunteer?
It's always been volunteer for the last 7-8 years.
Because I was under the impression that one security guard the one that you already had planned was a paid service, and then that additional security guard, I was thinking that is an additional cost that you're trying not to incur, but in essence, it's always been a volunteer, and the second one is coming at a cost. Is that what you're
Yes.
saying?
So every year we've run the warming shelter strictly by volunteers. There is nobody that gets paid to be there. Everybody's there voluntary, and we try to raise the funds between several of our organizations who also have organizations that they run that they try to do on donations as well. But we've tried to keep our costs to a bare minimum, which is why we've been where we've been and try to get it as for as little as possible. And this year is the only year that we've had the incurred cost of the $600 a night for security.
And that's for the one security guard?
No, that's for two. That's for two.
Will it be the same for one?
No. So the security plan is myself and two of our guests who stayed at the warming shelter, who I've transitioned over to our regular shelter, have applied for and done the live scan to get the fingerprinting and to get the guard cards. And the security company that's there is doing the training to help us get our guard cards so that we could be the volunteer guards. And then they will be the consultant, and then they will be on call if anything should happen or anything like that.
And how soon will you be able to get your guard cards? If this training takes place, is this something that's done within like a day?
Well, it depends on the BSIS. It takes them like a week or two, but we already did it. We submitted our applications on Monday. We did the live scans a couple weeks ago, but it takes like 2 weeks to get the live scans back. So as soon as the live scans come back and it's there, then the security company can issue us a temporary guard card.
Okay. So if this goes through the way you hope, so technically you'll have one security guard on a volunteer basis, one licensed security guard as a volunteer, and you'll have 4 other volunteers?
Inside, yes.
4 per shift, or is it a total of 4?
No, not 4. Yes, 4 per shift. So at all times, for the whole night, yes. Because there's actually 3 shifts, so there would be, I guess that would be 12 total for the whole night.
So it
If
says
that
in
makes it clearer.
I think so. It says in our staff report that that you would be providing one California Bureau of Security Investigation Services (BSIS) certified volunteer. Now, is that an actual real security guard with a badge and a uniform?
Well, yes, we're actually going to get the uniform donated.
But I mean,
Yeah.
this sounds like a California Bureau of Security Investigation Services. That sounds like a real cop to me.
Well, I know it
But they're
sounds,
volunteering, it
it's-
says.
Yes, so I will actually be a licensed security guard.
Okay, so there'll be
And
one
so
of
will
those.
so will the other 2 volunteers.
Okay. So we have one certified volunteer, that's you.
Yes. Well, no, the other 2 will be certified too. So
That's
that
because
we'll
the
switch shifts.
The hours,
Yes.
the shifts. And so there'll be 2 of you on site at any given time, or more than 2?
So the plan is to have, during the hours that the VVTA is there, so they have an outside guard already there, and then having myself or one of the others there, and then after the check-in time, then the other 2 would stay there during the night till the morning, as both of them as volunteer guards, and then in the morning they would be able to go over to the other shelter and sleep. And we will be getting them on-the-job training, and then hopefully after the end of the season, we'll be able to get them permanent jobs as security guards.
I like that part of it. That's
Yes.
nice.
It's a very nice added caveat.
I just kind of read this and thought that it was a seasoned security specialist person from Securitas, or name one of those companies, But you're telling me you're getting certified, and
Yes.
you will be the security guard.
Yes.
When does that happen?
It should be. I should have it like in the next week or 2.
Okay. One question here, and then you'll be next.
Then I have one.
As far as because you said that the security guard or the licensed security,
Yes.
as far as response time, and then why would they really be needed to be on call if
Mostly for consultation, so they would be available for phone if anything happened, just to help transition.
come in, not
Yeah.
to come in and assist?
And they would probably stay with us, at least one guard, until we were fully accustomed and trained.
Okay, I have a couple questions. It was my understanding that the initial security guard was going to be donated by a local security company, who I believe is the one who wrote your report for you. What happened? Did something break down? And
No, there was a misunderstanding as into what they were willing to donate and what everybody assumed they were donating. They volunteered and were willing to donate their services, but their services was including the security plan, the training, and they actually did the security guard training course with us to help us get our guard cards. And then that was what they were anticipating donating. But when we said we had somebody that was willing to donate security services, everybody assumed it was a guard for the whole shift.
yeah, $600 a night seems rather steep. That doesn't sound to me like somebody who's trying to help you guys out.
I got several
My
bids, and
personal
that's what they all
opinion,
were.
That's all that is. Okay, I have a couple questions. Have you guys had to confiscate any drugs and alcohol? And if
No.
you have, how are you disposing them?
So we haven't confiscated anything. We don't actually go through their bags. When they check in, we take their bags, put a label on it with their name, and we lock it up in the cabinet. And in the morning when they leave, they get their bags back and they leave.
Okay.
So we don't actually go through their belongings.
My next question: how many people that have wanted to enter have actually been denied because of your background check plan, which was in place?
So we've had two gentlemen that had a violent criminal history, and we've had only 3 people who were 290s that were not allowed to come in. But we do have, I think it was 5 or 6 I told you that we've had who have been able to stay there, but have been asked to leave for the season because of their behaviors inside.
And so is it in your opinion that your screening process, are you happy with how that's worked out?
Yes, it's working out very well.
Okay, all right. Then you said last time that only 25% carry identification.
Yes.
Have you noticed any difference in that?
So we've actually.
Is it better? Is it worse? Is it?
So we've actually the ones that don't have identification, we as a nonprofit are able to actually fill out a paper for them to help them get their identifications, and we've also been there with the coordinated entry system to help identify housing solutions for a lot of them. So there's been all the families. There's like 6 families with the 24 kids that have been evaluated. And then a couple of the seniors who have the gentleman Joe and a couple other people we've already evaluated to try to help get them into housing to get them immediately off the streets.
Okay, great. I have a couple others, but I think they were kind of addressed. Did somebody ask if anybody had been removed? Did you say 2 women got in a little scuffle?
Yes. So I mean, if you want
Ones that have been removed?
Yes.
Okay.
From inside the facility, yes.
Right.
Yes.
And then just out of my curiosity, how many? When you guys say an infant, what I mean, can you give me a kind of idea what you're referring to as far as age?
6 to 9 months.
Okay. And how many infants are you guys getting in there?
So we have a pregnant lady with an infant, and then she has 1, 2, 3, 3 other kids, and then we have another lady with like 2 or 3, and then we have a single dad with a boy and a girl that are like 9, 10, and 11, 12 ages, like in that range.
These people live somewhere? They can't be on the street with kids like that.
So there's a few of them that actually were in their vehicles, sleeping in their cars before they came there. But as you can imagine, it's very cold in your vehicle.
I'm just wondering, somebody with kids would not only be receiving some kind of government assistance, but not having their kids in school. That seems kind of weird to me.
No, they actually are all in school. Yes, the school bus actually comes and picks them up at the transportation center. All the school-age kids are in school.
Oh, okay.
Yes,
okay.
Yes.
That was just my curiosity.
Yes. They actually pick them up and then drop them off.
That's good.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Did you have to anybody on the Megan's list?
There was 3. There was 3, but they never stayed. We didn't let them. We do the screening before we have an actual intake screening before with those questions, and then we do the background screening. So there's 3 that out of all the, I think there's been close to 100 people who have stayed. The majority of them are coming back, but there's a few that we've transitioned to other places already. But there was 3 that were denied services from the very beginning because of the 290.
Okay, so that process you have is working, that part. Okay, and then the Victor Valley Transportation, the VVT, that guard, he's being paid by Victor Valley Transportation. However, he's assisting you with your program? Or how does that work?
No. He is patrolling the outside area.
Just the outside area?
Just the outside area between the hours of the 6:30 and 9 when we do the most of our check-in. Because I know that was one of the biggest concerns was the check-in time.
Right. Okay. So he's...
Commissioner Wells, just for clarification, he's there through an arrangement with the city because it's a city facility. It's the VVTA guard.
Okay. So he really doesn't have anything direct with the program, with this program. Okay.
No.
Is not.
As you do mention that they had 10 calls for service within that 20-day period.
Offer for the VBTA?
Yeah.
Oh.
That's what it says here.
Yeah, just to clarify, that's for the Victor Valley Transportation Center. So it's just identifying the site, not VVTA itself, but the overall site received during a 20-day period from October 10th to October 30th. They received the 10 calls.
And that was before.
That was
the
before,
warming center.
and that's for the entire site. It's not attributed directly to VVTA, the Transportation Authority.
Oh.
This is probably off subject, but it goes back to piggyback on Commissioner Harriman's statement that was made to him. From your perspective, do you? Because I know that in the beginning, when we were talking about the induction of this warmer shelter, you had mentioned, or somebody on your staff had mentioned, that most of the people that are coming to the shelter are, for lack of better words, the regulars. They're not new people coming downtown. But being that the shelter is in place now, do you see that there's an influx of people hanging out downtown?
No.
Where it would cause a problem to the businesses?
There are a couple locations that are across the street and down 7th and across D Street. I don't know what store. It used to be the Wonder Bread store or whatever, the bread factory or whatever it was by that liquor store. There are some people who stay there. I see them there every day, every night, all the time. But they have nothing to, they've been there for I don't know how long. But they stay there every day, every night. And they sit there and they go to the liquor store and they drink and they stay there, but they don't come to our warming shelter. So they're not a part of our guests. And there's I don't know if it's the bar location that he's talking about, but it's almost directly across the street from the rescue mission. There's some people who have an encampment right in front of the business there, but they've been there. All those people have been there. They have nothing. They're not our guests.
Actually, I think those people actually live in those little studio apartments back there. And what they're doing is they're hanging around in the alley. So they're really not in front. They're not in the storefronts.
Yeah.
Kind of what I ascertained,
Yeah.
But those people actually are not homeless. They're living in those old studios. Yeah. So they're not even homeless.
Oh. Yeah, but everybody's blaming us. I had a gentleman on 2nd and A Street, like, I don't know how many blocks that it was, 2 weeks before we even opened, saying that my people left their trash in front of his yard. And it's like, we haven't even opened yet. How are you going to blame us? All of a sudden, all the homeless is our fault.
Since this is addressed as a public hearing, right, I need to ask if there's anyone else that would like to speak to the commission. Come on up.
Good afternoon, commissioners. How are you? I was going to speak about something else. In fact, I was going to come to you and tell you that I wanted to see if I can get permission to provide meals for them daily. But seeing that we have this situation, all of you know that, well, there's 3 former homeless people in here. These 2 gentlemen who were former homeless, now they're successful business people. And you know I'm a former homeless, so I'm a veteran. Mr. Harriman, you are correct on some issues. You are actually correct in regards to the back. But my question is, I'm actually here in support on what they do, and I hope that you support them, because being former homeless and then trying to help homeless people, it really gets you deep down. It really does. And I'm glad that, you guys are working with the security. I've had the pleasure of cooking at his place, the homeless shelter here, and I've had the pleasure as a chef cooking with the rescue mission. In fact, when they did the playground and when they did the high school, it's a very difficult task to try to run a homeless shelter. very difficult, and especially at the warming center. I don't know if the problems they are having now, if they had last year when they were at the county fair, but it is difficult. And I would ask some of you, as I've asked the council people, come out and spend a night with us. Just come out, if you're up to it, and kind of get a feel on what the homeless people go through. It's quite a thing. It really is. It truly is. And I know one of the councilwomen is going to come with me. I hope that you support them and what they're doing, and at least give them an opportunity to correct whatever needs to be corrected. Because each night they have to plan it's like I plan a meal. When I'm going to plan for a weekly meal, I have to do a menu. And they have to plan too on how they're going to deal with different situations and at different times. And as the homeless come in or out, especially the kids. Now last year we had an opportunity to, my wife and I, we brought Christmas for the kids, and I didn't realize they had as many kids. Yeah. My wife, Lisette, we were stunned. So we called back and made sure and we're going to do it again this year. Seeing to have kids and babies, and you're correct, it's, the young ones there, oh my God. I mean, you guys would just fall out. In fact, you probably won't even come through the door when you see that. And so I just encourage, to sum it up, I just encourage and hope that you guys give them an opportunity. I see an Army man back there, and a lot of the Army guys, we're going to help this year as well. And I'm going to do whatever I can to help during the Christmas holidays, and anything else that I can do to help both parties. They've been through it. As I said, they were former homeless, so they know the deal. So thank you for speaking to me, and I hope you take me up on my offer. I'll come out and hang with you one night. Well, I'll bring some tents. Yeah. You need to actually see it to kind of feel for it. Thank you for my opportunity.
Thank you for your comments.
Thank you.
Anyone else like to speak to us?
Commissioners, thank you. Staff, thank you for putting that together. Like Jimmy said, I just want to reiterate the cost of the security is prohibitive. So please consider amending this, helping us help people, really. I mean, that's what we're asking. But at $18,000 a month, even if, and he did get several bids from several different organizations, and this one has dedicated way more than what they're charging to getting them certified and things like that. But when Victor Valley Rescue Commission oversaw the warming shelter, the first several years it was open, the most we ever spent was around $18,000 for the almost 4.5 months of service at the fairgrounds. That included rent, the heating bills, and whatever we spent on any kind of service that we provided for anybody. But $18,000 a month is just prohibitive, and so, please help us help others, and because we cannot do it like that. And so, just trying to bring some solutions to you guys, like we have, that hopefully would be acceptable. So, thank you.
Is there anyone else that would like to speak? Okay. Seeing no one, I'll close the public hearing, and I believe we need to give some guidance to staff based on this proposed security plan amendment. Correct?
Correct. Yeah. So that's what staff is seeking.
I can kind of start and say, I've liked what I've heard here. Everyone knows that when you put a group of people together, you're gonna get a few beefs here and there. You're gonna get some calls. There were before your time there. There will be after. Doesn't seem to me to be anything out of the ordinary per se. 20-day window, but they had a lot of guests that came through there, and a phone got stolen or something. That happens anywhere. So I think you're doing a good job. I hope it stays that way. I would ask you to be the great security guard that you're about to be. Make sure everything stays peaceful, and I'd like to hear from the the other commissioners as well.
I'll go first. I'm impressed. Okay, and Chef, I'm in. Okay, so I'll come out. I'll come down there. You just let me know. Try to not make it on a work night, but as you guys know, I voted this down at the initial meetings, and I just want to say from my experience, I have a real difficult time with the homeless issue, and that may be because what I run into are homeless people who don't want any help. And believe it or not, I don't know. If you don't agree with that, you must be in denial, because I've done work down there on 7th Street and had women come up to my workers and solicit themselves, and all that kind of stuff. But these tend to be people who do not want any help. And it looks to me like that's not what you're getting. You're same as the chairman said, I'm on board with this time, and I want to come down with the chef, and I need to experience it myself. I'll be honest with you. I can't go through all my reasoning, but maybe I need to be educated. So we'll let the chef take care of me.
Me personally, I think it's a good thing that you all do. It's something that's definitely needed. We've had some very cold nights. Me just trying to stand out, I can't smoke in the house, so just standing outside smoking is a chore, and so I can imagine what, these special children are going through. I have no problem, as long as your willingness, and it seems that you are willing to work with staff's recommendations, I come down and spend the night. I did all that in the military, those days in the field, and being out there in wet foxholes and cold. I know how it is, but no, I'm in support.
I've never experienced it myself, but I know of people. And I too commend you for what you are doing, both of you. The issue is that about security, and that these people feel comfortable being there in what you are providing security for them. So if from what you're saying, training, getting your guard cards, and being doing the job, then I think the people should. I could see cutting back on one of the security guards so that the facility can stay open. I mean, because this money that you've had to put out is mind-blowing. I mean, I wouldn't even have imagined it would be that much. But if your volunteers are strong people, and you can continue to encourage them to do their job and keep people safe, and they are safe themselves, then I think the recommendation should follow through.
Enough, Scott, to give you kind of the direction?
Yeah, what I gathered, the general consensus is okay with moving forward with an alternative plan, which is detailed in the security plan, which would include one licensed guard card 1 hour before, running through till 1 hour after the close of the facility, along with four volunteers during the operation of the facility. So if that's the consensus that I'm hearing, staff can move forward with refining and detailing that in the security plan, and monitoring that security plan from here on out. Okay.
We don't have to vote, right?
I think it's stated clearly on the record, so staff will move forward.
Okay. Thanks.
Thank you.
One last thing, I just want to clarify. I'm going to come down invited, okay? I'm not just going to. I'm not going to just show up. All right. I'm going to be invited. I'm not a troublemaker. Hey, you know.
Sure. Of course.
Call me when you want to go.
Thank you, sir.
Yes.
Well, it has to be 40 or below to be open? Oh, yeah, right. Okay.
In compliance with the Brown Act, it's necessary for the Planning Commission to make time for members of the public to address the Planning Commission on matters that fall within our subject matter jurisdiction. Is there anyone here to speak to the Commission? Okay. And with that, that's it. We'll go for Commissioner's comments. Anything, Commissioner Wells?
I just hope everyone had a happy, snowy Thanksgiving. And I do know that I didn't attend the parade for the city, but I heard it was very nice. And just looking forward to our commission doing great things in 2020.
I want to wish everybody a happy holiday. I want to commend the city staff.
I just would reiterate what everybody else has said. I want everybody to have a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. And I would agree. I really think this city is run very good. Very nice.
Yep. Me too. Year end looking back, we've had some, a few staff changes, some good people coming on to join us up here. And, I was kind of looking back at some of the agendas, and, things are getting, the economy's getting hotter apparently, because it wasn't that way even a year before 2018, but 19 was pretty good, and so I'm looking forward to 20. So is there any staff comments to wrap up?
Yeah, I just want to say thank you for your service as commissioners this past year. Happy holidays, and looking forward to the new year.
Same. Bless you, commissioners. Thank you.
Okay. With that, we'll see you all next year. Meeting adjourned.